Hello, my name is Lorali Smith. I decided to conduct my research on a topic that interests me, water testing. This project shows which natural water source would be the best for drinking purposes if everyday water sources were not available. In this project, I showed which four common natural water sources, well, creek, river, and pond, would be the most and least bacteria-ridden, and would have the highest and lowest pH, which would show which would be the best for drinking purposes in a survival situation. I will also be observing the effects of boiling water samples to see if I can prove or disprove the theory that boiling eliminates all bacteria. Harmful bacteria in water can cause anything from a minor stomachache to serious sickness, and even death in the worst cases, and that is why this is such an important topic that should be known more commonly. First in my procedure, I collect my water samples in sterilized containers, then bring them home. Next, I set up the incubation area. I evenly disperse each sample onto its own agar plate, then put them all under the heat lamp about 90 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Once those are incubating, I take the pH of each sample. I distribute drops of each sample onto the pH strips with pipettes, then match them to the pH scale. I repeat this 3 times for accuracy, then take my results. After 3 days of incubating, I take the water samples out of incubation and observe the growth on each plate. I analyze and take my results, then move on to the last part of my project. I boil each sample for 3 minutes, then repeat my actions with the first round of samples. After 3 days of incubation, I compare and write down my results and conclusions from my testing. Here are my findings. For the non-boiled samples, the most dirty was the pond with a nearly full plate of bacteria, followed by the creek, the river, and then the well with only a small amount of fungus growing. I used a grid to quantify the amount of bacteria on each plate and counted the squares with bacteria present. For the boiled samples, the most dirty was the pond, followed by the river with only a small amount of bacteria grown, then the creek and the well with no traces of bacteria. For the pH, the highest was the well with a very desirable 9 to 9.5 pH, followed by the creek with an 8 pH, then the pond with a 6.5 to 7 level of pH, and then the river with an undesirable 6. After I found these results, I analyzed and drew my conclusions. In conclusion, if you found yourself in a situation with no common water sources, well water is going to be the best option for drinking purposes, which is justifiable because the water is filtered through layers of rock, soil, and other materials as it falls through the ground, leaving little contaminants. The pond water being the most contaminated is justifiable because the water is still, which allows for dirt to settle, as well as the addition of fish and other animals coming into contact with it. The pH also supports that well water is the best choice for drinking purposes. Some of the results did stray from my original hypothesis, which supports that you should not just assume which water source is best without any prior knowledge. If you can, you should always try to boil the water if possible, because that seemed to reduce the amount of bacteria significantly. This project and research leaves many more questions for me, such as what if I tested other water sources, and how long and hot does the water have to be for it to eliminate all bacteria? I look forward to exploring this topic more and answering any questions you have at my interview.